feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the Dane Moore NBA podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks, coming at you Monday morning. It's February 23rd after the Wolves' 27-point loss to the Philadelphia 76ers on Sunday night. It was a game they had to play without Rudy Gobert because Gobert was suspended as punishment for picking up another flagrant foul in Friday's game against Dallas. I've got Wolves beat writer Jace Frederick here with me. And Jace, I felt like all night sitting there in the stadium, the story was no Gobert and kind of all the tentacles that come off of that. Gobert's obviously an imperfect player, but it's interesting to watch when he doesn't play. That's almost, those are the times where you seem to, or I seem to feel his value even more. He's just a stabilizer for this group. I thought this game really highlighted just some underlying issues that this team has that Rudy Gobert more often than not covers up for them. This loss certainly wasn't all on the bigs for not being able to make up for Gobert's absence. The offense was pretty awful as well. Another one of those turnover fest games. We'll talk about that, and no Naz Reid. But did it surprise you how much this team seemed to miss Rudy last night?
Maybe in the past we've seen they almost do a little bit more like fly around and whatnot. It's like sometimes that plays into guys' strengths defensively when they can get a little bit out of like that structure. But that was not the case last night. It was interesting to watch and even rewatch. And when they tried to go like switch heavy, plays that had like multiple actions, multiple screens in it, they would get lost. Somebody would just end up wide open. Communication was bad there. Like these lineups that they would go to were like, oh, you could tell they were meant to be switchable 5 guys. And they just clearly weren't sharp enough for that. Like, and I get that it's the first time you've done it or the first time you've done it in a while. Maybe you haven't practiced it that much, but there were different situations where like Io and Dante had switched. So Dante's on Maxey, and then Io Edgecombe comes across, but not anywhere near a screen. Like, and Io tries to be like, "Oh, let's switch back here," which is usually something you do if it was like a big small, and you're like, "We need to get out of this." And Dante was not thinking that had to happen, and so then Io just stops and goes, "Okay, now you go to that guy," and then Edgecombe. And
was that the one where he just like slipped away to the basket?
No, it's just a wide open 3. Just like he just came across like the free throw line when Maxey's on the top of the arc, and Io decided to be like, great, we can switch back right now. And Dante, I don't even think knows the cutter's there or whatever. He's not thinking that, and so Edgecombe, Io just stops at Maxey. Dante's still guarding Maxey. Edgecombe just goes over to a wing 3 wide open and hits it. And so like so many things like that were evident of like, oh, these guys are not used to playing like switch heavy lineups. And then the biggest thing without Rudy is you just see how much he covers up in terms of like their shell is not very good. And they've talked about that. They talked about that pre-All-Star break, having to sharpen that up. Finch talked about that. Players talked about that. Their help defense kind of stinks a lot of times. Like Ant is just the king of no man's land when guarding guys on the perimeter of like, it's like, is he in the gap? No. Is he close enough where he can get back out and contest a shooter on a kick out? No. Never like chasing somebody off the line, nothing like that. It's just like in between, not helping in either situation, his man or ball. And then he's not the only offender. He's just like the primary one. But it's just not a good shell at all. And you see that. And I think Rudy covers up a lot of that because it's like, well, at least he's down there for low man. So then maybe you can be more committed to this corner. And even when they aren't though, at least the rim is covered up. So last night it was just like a lot of things are open. But that's just it's like bad principles. It's not clean, it's not sharp, it's not like that. Just the fundamentals of what they're trying to do defensively aren't good. And that's where we've hit the point this season where when they do like get out and rotate for possessions and multiple efforts, we're like, wow, because that stands out a lot more than it used to. It's done being the norm, and now it's more the exception. And I think now like games like without Rudy, it becomes very obvious of how like far off they are from really being elite on that end.
Well, I think they forget how sharp they need to be when Rudy isn't out there. Like what you're talking about with like perimeter switches or not closing out far enough to a shooter in the corner, like that isn't inherently a big guy thing. That's like Rudy's just
right. Exactly. He has nothing to do with that. Right.
Yeah. But I guess, that happens fairly frequently. Last night was pretty egregious. It just, not to excuse it, but it very much had a Sunday game in February energy to it. But on the perimeter, right? Like just not executing, right? But you're going through those things. I go, that's just not execution. That's just not execution. That's not Ant not putting himself. He talked about in the locker room after the game too, of like, yeah, I'm going to be on film. I did not. He said what you said. I was not closing out to the perimeter, which was very obvious if you watch the game. And I think those things related to the defense exist in this one bucket that like they need to take care of when Rudy is in the lineup to become an elite defensive team, to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. Then there's just the interior stuff. And it reminded me of opening night in Portland. Maybe I was thinking about that if they play Portland again here coming up. And it was just the C's part, right? Like just in the middle of the lane, like the C's part, some sort of miscommunication in terms of like which big or low man or whatever, who's at the rim, just so this isn't just a straight line, whatever. And I think that is just where not only do they miss Rudy, but like, I don't have confidence they can do that, period. Like there's been no indication that is a Sunday in February type of thing. It happens almost every single game in the 16 minutes a night that Rudy's on the bench. It's been happening the entirety of the season. It's the whole non-Gobert minutes conversation. It's the Reed Randall front court deal. And we've been talking about that since opening night. I mean, I remember that specifically. The pod Kyle and I did after opening night, it was a good chunk of it was dedicated to, I am concerned about the Reed and Randall minutes at the 5 this season. That front court configuration more than I even was last year. I don't know if it's Nikhil gone, whatever. It just looks scary. And defensively, it's looked scary all year. To their credit, obviously, we know this, like the Reed Randall lineup is very good offensively. But it's games like this when Rudy's off the floor and I start thinking about, is there a playoff series like there were last year where, Finch is not going to feel comfortable playing Rudy 30 plus minutes a night. What are they going to do? Like this defense, the way they play defense with Rudy off the floor just seems baked into their DNA. And it just puts them in a situation, I think, going into the playoffs where they need to play Rudy 35 minutes a night, even, in the playoffs. And, I worry about their ability to be able to do that with the other bigs that they have, which, I mean, we can throw Beringer in there too last night. Like the dream with Johan Beringer this season, and this is a high bar for a 19-year-old or whatever, but the dream was maybe some point over the course of the season, he's something else they can use here, specifically in the non-Rudy minutes to play some more defense, give some more, just resistance. And Beringer gets the start, really struggles with foul trouble, as he's going to, as a young, very aggressive player. But I don't know. This resounds the alarm to me in the playoff context about what is this team going to be able to do in the minutes that Rudy Gobert is not on the floor, because he's not good on offense, because of free throw issues, because of foul trouble, whatever it might be. I don't know if this team has answers for that. And I thought last night against the Sixers team without Embiid, without Paul George, like that really stood out. Even though the Wolves didn't have Nas, maybe that's a little bit better if Nas plays. But this is an issue. This is just a real issue with this team.
Yeah, and you see like the difference in Beringer of, okay, like he's been a great rim protector this year, but you just see how much easier it is when there's some resistance, like, and Rudy's talked about this many times. Like if you can get somebody to turn one or two times and root to the rim, now it's not like this freight train coming at you and you can anticipate, and they don't have a ton of momentum. So it's like their elevation is a little different. Everything. It's just like an easier shot to block. But like these straight line drives, like Rudy sometimes has trouble with it. He's actually pretty good at it compared to how difficult it is of a situation. Beringer is like, it's tough. It's hard to not foul because you're going to be like the contact, everything is probably going to put you in a situation where you're not guarding legally anymore. And you are putting the big man in a very compromised position when that's the case. And we saw a lot of it last night, where yes, like the low man's not there, or there's miscommunication or out of position or whatever. part of that is also because like it all happens too quickly, like or the ease with which the guy gets to the rim it's far too great. And that's a major issue, and I think that is why we feel worse about the non-Rudy minutes anyway. I do think it's like a no Nikhil thing, or like a no, hey, we can really count on that guy defensively. Ant's defense is significantly worse this year. Like all of these kinds of things are like, all right, their perimeter defense is worse. And so that makes everything on the back end exacerbated. And yeah, like I know last night, like in the second half, Philly hit some nice, like Maxey and Edgecombe hit some threes, like step back stuff where you're like, oh, well, that's difficult. But so much of it came because in the first half, it was like catch and shoot, or Maxey, step in like uncontested, like Ant level, these step in off drop pick and roll where it's like, all right, Berenger's 5 feet back and the screen was set high and it was not good screen navigation. And so he has nobody within 5 feet in front of or behind him. Like, yeah, he's probably going to make a lot of those. He's probably going to get into a pretty nice rhythm. It's everything. It's like they're worse in every other area. So it has put a ton of pressure on Rudy to cover that up. And when he's not out there, you see how bad it looks. And I agree with you. Like Nas not being there does hurt because like, hey, Philly went small a fair amount last night. And the two guys who really punished that, sometimes Randall, but Nas is really good and one-on-ones in mismatches, and Rudy just on the offensive glass. So, yeah, I agree. Like they have a hard time guarding smaller lineups and not scoring against them. That's a really kind of double-edged sword for them that I don't know if they have an answer for without those guys out there. And they're very fortunate that they are a healthy team and will probably have everybody again. But man, you see it. You see it when Rudy's not out there. Just like all the weaknesses that they have possessed all season. And Rudy covers up a lot of them. But it's really bad. Like it's just shell principles. Like they're bad. So I don't know if they're going to fix that either.
I asked Finch about the non-Rudy minutes, like bigger picture on the season after the game last night. Here's Finch. Back to training camp, the non-Rudy minutes were a focus. I know tonight's not a great example of that because you don't have Nas, but how are you kind of feeling about those minutes over the course of this season?
Well, I mean, it depends how you look at it. Offensively, they're great. Defensively, they're not so great and inconsistent. Sometimes they're better than others, and that's really been, kind of a blind spot for us. It's been that way for a couple of years, even going back to, when Cat was here. So it's, something that we got to be better on the ball. I thought we were, certainly we talked about the 3-point line. But I thought when we did get up and pressure and made things uncomfortable, we were good. But we just kind of sat back too much and gambled a lot of times on the ball and gave them, stuff they didn't really earn or deserve.
He brings up the Cat thing, and I've talked about this as well, too, in previous years. Like the defense was better when Rudy was on than when Cat was on the floor defensively at the 5 that year. That was like a 3-point differential. I didn't look that up specifically, but I've said it multiple times over the course of the year. I think it was like 108 with Rudy on and 111 when Cat was at the 5. With this team this year, it's 109 with Rudy on the floor, and it's 121 with Rudy off the floor. I mean,
121 is horrendous if you have no context. Yeah, it's terrible.
Right. I mean, that's just we can all kind of do the math here. That's 1.2 points per possession. That's a 60% to 40% three. Like that's money. And I'm not saying Finch is wrong. It was an issue they did kind of have there. We should not undersell how egregious of an issue it is, or the numbers tell us that it is. And, I do think in a playoff series when Rudy's off the floor that they'll be better about the switches. I do think they'll be better about the short closeouts. I think some of the things, the ball containment, some of those things, they'll be somewhat better, certainly better than they were last night. But it's still big, man. It's still like a huge gap that I don't know. And I'm just being honest. Like I don't super believe in the offensive rating of the non-Rudy minutes either in a playoff context. Like 124 with Rudy off, Reed and Randall on this year. That's awesome offensively. But I mean, right? Like you think that group's going to like kill it offensively in the playoffs? Like maybe I'm skeptical about that too. So then I'm scared going into the playoffs of like, sure, you won those minutes during the regular season when Rudy sat, I'm not sure they win those minutes. Like, I'm not sure they win those minutes in a playoff context, even against not a great playoff team there. So I hear what he's saying, and the numbers are the numbers there, and they're winning the minutes when Rudy's off the floor. It's just not extremely believable to me in a playoff context that holds. Whereas I think what happens in the Rudy minutes likely does hold there. So I think we're talking about, in a playoff context, an egregious gap. That's what it feels like to me. Just tracking it over the course of the season feels like what it will be when the playoffs come.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the offensive numbers are more likely to dip than the defensive numbers because we see the process of the defensive numbers. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if you have somebody who can break down a defense and you have guys who can hit outside shots off like kicks, it puts Minnesota in bad spots again and again and again. And that's if the low man help is there. And if it's not there, now it's just like, oh, it's just the layup. We don't even need step two. So they don't really have answers for it. I would say for Finch there, like, it's not like he was like throwing a party of like, we're winning these minutes. You know, it was like, yeah, we're doing this, but he even called it a blind spot, you know, like, yeah, I know it's not great, you know, like, and I think that's the truth. And I'm with you. It's a very,
what does blind spot mean there? I didn't know what he meant by, I mean, like, I think
it's like something that,
like a blind spot in roster construction. Like, I mean,
almost like you're not considering it, right? Like, yeah, we're bad at this, but we're not factoring that in. You know, like that's what I take it as, of like, we haven't spent enough time diving into this, or like recognizing that it's a problem, and looking for ways to fix it. That's what I take like a blind spot as, of I'm not even recognizing this because I don't see it.
Yeah. I think it's both. I think it's a blind spot in roster construction. I think it's a blind spot in, which again, I get, sounds weird. They're winning those minutes, but it's one of those things that feels worse to me. And I think on like May 5th, when maybe they're even in the second round and they've played like 8 playoff games or something like that. That's why I think we're going to look at the numbers and we're going to see a very different story with Rudy off the floor. That would be my estimation, which has been my feeling on it, which leads me to have thought about over the course of the year, as we've talked about many times, you know, like the presence of Beringer, what would that do? What about playing some lineups where Jaden's at the 4 and it's not two of the big, not Reed and Randall in the front court all the time? I think what was discouraging about last night is they didn't find anything else. And there's one game, and there's no Nas, but I thought in that game there would be a lineup, right, where you'd be like, oh, that was kind of fun. Like, it was Julius and Jaden in the front court, and that worked, or Yohan and Jaden in the front court, and that felt like it worked. It felt like they had no answers defensively last night. Yeah.
They don't have good enough defensive personnel for a team that can go like the 76ers can go like, hey, we have 4 guys who can score in the perimeter. We'll play them all at once. Minnesota's like, all right, well, we have 1.5 defenders. You know, I mean, like Bone's not a good defensive player. TJ's not a good defensive player. Like Dante's like plays with a lot of effort, but like ball contained stuff isn't great. And decent ball contain, large chunks of the time, not very good off ball. Like, so it's like Jaden, and then it's Jalen Clark when he's out there usually. Like, so there are too many spots that you can, like, while compromising the whole team defense as a whole, because just like I said, the shell's not very good. And then the individual matchups, you're like, well, we're losing a lot of these too. So that is like small ball made a lot more sense when they had more defensive personnel. And you've talked about this in the past when I would be like, oh, they could still be one of these top defenses, and you've called in the personnel in the past. And I think the more I watch it, I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's not there for a lot of these guys. Like, it's just, I'm not saying they're bad players, because they do often, it is a trade-off of what hopefully they can bring on the offensive end. But it's like, if these guys, the Wolves have a lot of different guys you'd like to hunt, especially on the bench. And that's going to be interesting to see as well. Like, because if those are the guys that are playing sometimes when Rudy's not out there, it's like teams would like to hunt Nas. Teams, I think they would obviously like to hunt Bones and TJ, and I think they're pretty comfortable going at a lot. Yeah, sure, right. And Ant, you just know, like, if he's guarding you, like, I think that'll be on playoff scouting reports. Like, if Ant's guarding you in the corner, like, and nothing's happening on your side, like, cut. That stuff's all going to be in there too. So, like, it's got a lot of guys are going to have to really, like, bunker down defensively. Otherwise, I think they're going to give up a lot of points and just have to outscore people. And like you said, Rudy might have to play 35 minutes. That's never been what they've done in these situations. It's often been like, go more offensive. Rudy maybe doesn't play when you get down, things like that. I don't know if that can be the case. I just don't think they're good enough elsewhere defensively to do that anymore.
Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, and let's put together a daily fantasy lineup over at Prize Picks. The Spurs and Pistons play each other tonight. I know I'm going to watch that game, so let's pick from there. I'm really curious to see Cade Cunningham against that Spurs defense. Give me Cade Cunningham to have less than 27.5 points against Wemby in the middle. Give me Duncan Robinson, though, to take more than 6.5 threes, as I think they will desperately be in need of some spacing. And then also to pick a Spurs player, give me Keldon Johnson to have more than 10.5 points off the bench for them. You can also make picks against the spread at Prize Picks now on the teams tab. The Spurs are 1.5 point favorites for this game, even though the game is in Detroit. I really do think it should be a fun game. And if you are watching, you're watching any game, I do think within your means, play it just for $5. Put together a daily lineup or bet against the spread. You know the deal. There's always something going on at Prize Picks. And now a lot more with the ability to do futures and point spreads on the teams tab, even in the state of Minnesota. If you don't have a Prize Picks account, all you have to do is put in the promo code Dane when you sign up. You'll receive $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app using promo code Dane. Obviously, the foul trouble really derailed that game and probably makes it more egregious of a result.
But the foul trouble is because of a reason,
that's what I was gonna get to.
Yeah,
with Yohan, it's that's going to happen, and it's not going to be that big of an issue because I can't see him playing, with a fully healthy roster more than 15 minutes in a game. But you see this around the league when you watch intriguing, young, athletic, physical bigs, is they over pursue that, and Yohan does that. Like even in those, he played those 4 minutes in the first quarter of the game on Friday, and he had the two big blocks. He also had another play where it's just a high quad pick and roll, and he just comes down and he goes to contest the driver, and it's just a drop off to his guy on the big there. It's
they're not as read plays.
Extremely sharp. It's just, I think Yohan's gonna be. Those are learnable things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 0% shocked that he hasn't learned all of those things in no rotation minutes over the course of his career. But he's just not going to be an answer immediately to kind of fill in these gaps, because he is going to over pursue at times and he is going to foul. Doesn't mean he shouldn't play. I think he should play. I'm largely very intrigued by him, but it's not a magic wand. Like, here we go. This group has it taken care of here. And again, and I don't think the small ball piece of it is either. Though I did think it was interesting. It got us some different players and some different lineups. Just for how healthy this team has been.
Yeah, we haven't had any chance
talked about this all, right?
2 years now, largely very healthy.
I know what you make of it because we text about it all the time of this team's missing player X and the Wolves are fully healthy. And it's a credit to the Wolves, their staff, I guess their players for playing through it. Julius has played in every game, and many of those games, not been 100%.
Well, last night was the first game Nas hasn't played all year, right? So his first miss.
I think he missed one earlier in the season. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think
maybe not.
When Rudy's first suspended game was the first game any of them had missed all year.
That's true. The Milwaukee one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes it hard for me to think about how good the Wolves are, at least in a regular season context, compared to teams like Houston and the Lakers and even Denver. I guess Oklahoma City too, who have just missed so many more games, main player games than the Wolves have too. And it probably feels like we're piling on right now, but they did just lose by almost 30 to the Sixers at home, and the Sixers were on a back-to-back. I think it's fair to say there's some serious concerns to have about this Wolves team if they're not 100% healthy. And you would think you could say that about every team in the league, but the teams ahead of them in the standings have had more injuries than they have. So they need to finish this season really strong to get to where they want to be, right? And unfortunately, it feels like a prerequisite of this Wolves team having a great run the rest of the way is going to require perfect health or, close to it. And I mean, I'm not convinced Rudy Gobert is not going to commit another flagrant foul this year. I'm not.
Yeah, right. And
I just think he will probably. And that's a 2-game suspension now. Every flagrant for Rudy is 2 going forward. Just wear and tear happens. Bad luck happens. I'm concerned about this team if they start getting a little hurt, because I think they only really have like one rotation that like works. And it works well. I like the rotation against Dallas. Like the starters, Nas, Ayo, Bones, Yohan off the bench. Like, I'm like, cool. Like, I like that rotation. I think that's a good rotation for this group. But if you take one of those guys out any night, I really do have concerns about this team being able to like reach even their like median level of output.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because Bones, even like, it's like, do we think Bones should play 20 minutes a game? No. Like Yohan, like it's probably like 10 minutes. It's right now where he's at. It's the energy in bursts, that I think are the most valuable, and maybe like a little bit of rim protection when Rudy's out, the threat of it at the very least, but not like a big role, because then we see like the execution errors and whatnot, like they rear their heads a little bit more. Teams start to game plan for you if you play a little bit more. Against this guy we do this and this, and it leads to this. I think the biggest thing I think of when I watch a game like last night is like, all right, this team looks really discombobulated down a couple guys. Seemingly every game they play is against another team that's down multiple guys. Same was true for Philadelphia. So that to me is where it's like, all right, you see like how teams can be affected by missing multiple bodies, and then you realize the Wolves have been really healthy this year. I think they should be pretty disappointed with where their record's at, if I'm being honest. Like, I think all the winning streaks, all of the they bounced back from this rough stretch, like with like winning 4 or 5 straight. So many times since January, like most of the wins have come against teams that are missing a lot of guys. Like Dallas, I like that rotation. They didn't have Cooper Flag in that game. They're not very good. It's teams that are very injured, and beating those teams with a healthy roster. Like, I don't think they should have had this many lapses. I can't believe that they're in this spot in the standings, given the injuries that other teams ahead of them have had, and they haven't. Like, they have not looked like an elite regular season team this year, like sans a few games here and there. And it's hard to think that won't catch up to you like Denver's down Aaron Gordon.
Or now's the time to kill it. Or now's the time to kill it.
Sure. Yeah. It's not too late. I get that. It's not too late, but man, like you would sure like to think that you would be in a better spot to where you'd be like, they should be in a spot where they're like, all right, it's us or the Spurs for the 2. And instead it's like, all right, can we fend off these other teams to try to get to 3? That's just the spot that they're in, that it doesn't feel like they should be in if they're actually like championship contenders. That's just seeing the impact, like thrown in your face of like, remember what it looks like when 2 of your top 6 guys are out? Like, oh yeah, it is a big deal. Oh wow, they win a lot of games against teams that have 2 of their top 6 out. And that's not like they have to apologize for that, but they should have won a lot more games, I think, for a team that is frankly healthier than most other teams in the NBA. Like you like threw in the Thunder they've had injuries too. So many more injuries, so many more key guys missing games.
So much higher.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, Denver's hardly ever had their starting lineup out there. Like it's Houston doesn't have Fred VanVleet for the whole year. Like it's all of these teams that they're contending with are all like missing a key piece. And man, you would like to think that Minnesota would be higher up, given how few games that they have missed any of their marquee guys, any of their top 6 players. I couldn't help but watch that.
It pours cold water on the Nickeil stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a legitimate excuse, but most teams that we're talking about with just the injuries that they've had have probably lost Nickeil, the sum of Nickeil impact, right? Like,
and that doesn't even count.
What's more costly?
That's a roster decision. Teams lose guys in roster decisions. Like that's not on your team even, so it's really hard to even put that in the same bucket. But
it was the kind of replacements, right, for Nickeil this season, given the starting lineup change, was supposed to be Mike Conley, Terrence Shannon Jr., and Rob Dillingham, right? Like they kind of were supposed to be the 8th man. And those guys haven't delivered this season, and that's been hard. That's been their injury, is that those that when that spot has been missing this year, they've played guys in those minutes that have not been good. The hope is Io, right, solves a lot of that. And at time, obviously, and I guess the majority of the games he's played for the Wolves, he's helped there a lot. But I think we're just, a lot of the season has been a reminder that those guys also haven't really been able to step up. I say that to bring up the fact that Mike and TJ did play in the game last night, mostly just as a note. I don't think either of them didn't blow me away. I thought Mike worked hard out there. Obviously, the scoring is not going to be a piece of his game. I thought TJ looked healthy, but like we're talking about with Yohan and just some of the younger players, not consistent in maybe his understanding of what his role is, possession to possession. I think he's got a weird role too. I give him a little bit of like, if you're TJ Shannon, to be like, what is my job description here? Not that I've done a good job in what it is, but he's had a weird sort of role. I just thought it was somewhat interesting that we got to see both of them play, and somewhat noteworthy that Finch was very had a lot of praise for. Actually, I haven't played that clip. I asked Finch about that after the game. Had a lot of praise for Mike Conley specifically.
And then got to see TJ and Mike play for the first time in a while. What were just your takes from that?
Mike was great. I mean, competed on the ball, stood his guy up, gives you everything he got. Probably should have played him a little bit more. TJ gets to knock the rust off. Didn't get a whole lot done out there, but at least it's good to see him. Back. I thought defensively it was a bit better. Than he had been earlier in the season. So.
Okay, so he said with Mike that I probably should have played him more, and I think it probably scares some people that be like, oh, he's going to start playing him more in all games. I took that comment to be like, I should have played him more last night, given that there's missing players there. But it was also our first reminder that Finch really does appreciate what Mike Conley does, and does kind of look over the things that Mike Conley no longer does. It'll be, we at least got to use this as a data point to, kind of be like, well, Mike Conley's back on the team, didn't play the first game, but in the second game, he was back to his, what he played, 16, 17 minutes last night, like the same role as it was before, not with a fully healthy roster, but the Finch Conley love and the Finch Randall protection, like just those things aren't going away. Today's show is brought to you by Rula, R-U-L-A, and Rula is online therapy that won't break the bank, and that's because Rula works with most major insurance plans, making it so sessions can cost as little as $15 and in some cases even $0, depending on your benefits. For me, I'm really grateful for my experiences with therapy. My experiences have helped me make sense of the things in life that don't make sense. We have a lot going on, and when that happens, keeping our heads clear as possible is the best thing we can do for ourselves. I know for me, in hindsight, there are times in life where, I'm sure seeing a therapist would have helped me get through a difficult time, but there were barriers to entry. Having fast, affordable access to the right therapist would have made that easier for me. And that's where Rula comes in. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work, again, with most major insurance plans, and the average session copay is just $15. $15. That's basically the cost of lunch, but instead of a sandwich, you're investing in your own headspace. Thousands of guys have already used Rula to finally get the care they needed. Don't keep putting it off. Go to rula.com/DaneMoore and get started today. That's RULA.com/DaneMoore. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health.
Yeah, and I would say, I think here's how maybe Finch views it, of you've got a lot of one-way players on the bench. And I think Mike is largely a one-way player. I think he does, help ball movement, 4 assists last night in 15 minutes. And, he makes, the quick passes just around the perimeter that get an offense going, that oftentimes they do a lot of holding. But I do think it's all right, Mike's more of a help defensively than offensively. Okay. So did Mike help defensively last night? And I think Finch's answer was a yes. And then you look at like Bones and TJ. Neither are good defenders. So it's like, okay, they have to help us offensively. And that's where it's like, okay, but the offensive help is too sporadic. So they're always going to be bad defensively. And they're not. And the offense is like some nights good, some nights terrible. So like the nights where it's terrible, it's really, really terrible, right? Because now you're hurting on both ends. And with Mike, it's like more consistent, pretty bad offensively, but more consistent defensively than maybe some of the other guys are offensively. The problem is like, they really need two-way players. Even just like a depth on both ends doesn't have to be great. Yeah. And it doesn't exist. And like, ideally that's Io, and Io's playing a lot of minutes at that point. Like that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for like Dante and Io to play well because it's good enough on both ends, right? Like, and that's what you need more of. But right now I think he's picking between like, okay, do I put in the guy who's going to maybe score, maybe not? Or am I going to put in the guy who isn't going to score, but defends better than those other two? I think that's where you land. And like, I think everybody else wants to see, hey, you need the scoring burst. You need the upside of these other guys. And that I think is where he's ultimately going to go from Finch's perspective. I think it's going to be Bones. But yeah, like I understand.
I think you're exactly right. I think you're exactly right about what Finch's thinking is there. I think you encapsulated that well. There's a volatility to the offense you're going to get from the other one-way players coming off the bench. And he feels Mike's defense is more bankable there. I mean, that's a little first couple possessions Mike was in. He definitely got scored on, back cut on the first one there.
That was a good, and that one, like watching that too, it's like, it's not like he didn't know. He was very aware that Quentin Grimes back cut, and he was right there with the back cut. But it was a good pass. Quentin Grimes is just too, like, that's the Mike conundrum. Like, Mike is where he's supposed to be.
Too small.
He's too small, and he's not like athletic enough anymore to like make up for it. But that was a great example of Mike. Did not like unaware of the back cut, was there, put his hand there, just too small. Like so that's where, like, again, as you're watching, and I would be like, can't guard it. But if you're a coach and you're like, our shell's terrible, and this guy actually plays it, I get that too, you know. So like, I think
just
everybody else
screams
like,
that he's freaking out. It screams that Finch is like, I don't believe in our defense. That's what it is. And I, so much so that I'm going to play the 5'11", 38-year-old point guard because I just feel so much more confident he's going to do the defensive game plan than anybody else on the team, including Jalen Clark. Like, you know, that has been a abundantly clear thing over the past 6-8 weeks or whatever, that it's not that obvious. Jalen is a talented defender. It is the reliability of being in the right place is not there, as is the case for just about all the other all the other wings outside of like Jaden and Dante. I think they do a pretty good defensive integrity in terms of like what they're being asked to do. But to your point, what we're talking about, the other options when Finch is like metaphorically scanning the bench, right? And he goes, okay, it's the Kyle Anderson thing from 2 years ago. It's the same. It's the same thing. And that's just, I'm not even trying to justify it. I don't think that's actually really what our job is here. Our job is to say what the coach is doing. And what you do only score 108 points in the game against a Philly team without Embiid. It's also fair to say the other side of it of like, yo, this team needed some more offense too. And like Mike has like a cap at being able to score 5 points in a game, you know, but that when I see stuff online versus what I think my understanding of what Finch thinks is like that column in the stat sheet, he does not care about. He does not care about the points scored by Mike Conley column. And I think some of that is for sure fair. Like that isn't what his job is. And I see some of the other side of it too, of it's like when he's out there, you have 4 guys who can score on offense. And maybe if they're, you know, one or Bones isn't playing well, or it's Jalen Clark, whatever, it might be 3. And then the offense gets really small or really weak, really quick, you know, and it becomes a problem, I think, of the Wolves team where it just gets so Ant and Julius reliant then at that point, which they can bail him out of. When Ant was on the floor outside of his turnovers, you know, it's like, okay, here we go. Doesn't matter who else is on the floor. We have an offensive engine. But it feels like so many of these guys who are weaker on offense or inconsistent on offense need to not only be on the floor with Ant and Julius, but Ant and Julius need to be playing effectively offensively in those minutes too, which is just not 100% of the time thing, as is the case for like most really good offensive players in the league. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird collision. It's a weird collision going on there. But you did a good job of I think we did a good job of explaining what Finch is thinking there.
It's like an interesting dynamic of like Bones and TJ can be shot in the arm offensive players, but so much of their success is playing with pace and in transition. And like, all right, if they are contributing to the cause of not getting any stops, so you can't play in pace or transition, it's like, all right, they're not like the best half court offensive players. So where is the positive coming from? It's again, and this really rears its head. I think they can be okay. Like you said, it has to be a fully healthy thing because I think they have 7 guys who can go out there and be like, yep, they all belong in the playoffs, and it goes down to IO. And then, but when one guy's out and you have other guys come in and it's like good sometimes, really bad sometimes. That's difficult, and it's a tough thing to be like, all right, if it's not their night, now do I just search? Do I play through it? What do we need more of out here? Because I'm picking between things, and that can just change like with one sub. It's tough. They are just a thinner team than they used to be, and that is just the harsh reality of it. And you see it especially on nights like this, and it is one of those where you go, well, thank goodness for them that they've been so healthy this year, because I don't know what position they would be in if they weren't.
Tyrese Maxey had 39 points and 8 assists in that game, 39 points on 28 shots. Really efficient, really effective. Something you and I talk about a lot, and it's been a theme even for the Wolves when they're playing their best defense. We talk a lot about the big physical fours that the Wolves struggle to guard. I think that's been proven out pretty consistently over the course of time. The Zion Williamsons, the Jaren Jackson Jr.'s, the Giannis Antetokounmpos. I always joke, like, if this team was playing against Julius Randle, they wouldn't be able to guard him.
Right. Like that 50 against them or whatever.
Yeah, 57.
Yeah.
A couple years ago. I think that is the biggest like wild card for them to be playing against that disorients the defense and they just don't really have answers for. But there's another archetype, and it's this really fast point guard that this team struggles with. And I think Tyrese Maxey is like literally number one on that list of
I agree.
That. And not that Jaden has nothing for him.
Fast and skilled. Yes. Fast like a good shooter as well. Like there's multiple aspects to it.
And they're not going to play Tyrese Maxey in the Western Conference playoffs.
I'm going to call it. They're not going to play Tyrese Maxey in the playoffs.
Right. I think you're right there. But they might play De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's one I have circled. When we get to the playoffs and we get a Wolves Spurs series, which would be awesome. I would love to see that, in part because of this reason. The test against, they've done like a great job against Jamal Murray in previous playoffs and stuff like that, but that's different. Like it's a different type of player. It's the frankly a guard that is faster and skilled enough that Jaden's size and athleticism is somewhat nullified. And that certainly showed up last night with Tyrese Maxey and what he was able to do. But again, functionally, as I'm trying to do this more in the final chapter of the regular season, is something good or bad that happened in a Wolves game relevant for the playoff context? And I think this is specifically for the De'Aaron Fox reason. I think Tyrese Maxey's better than De'Aaron Fox, in my opinion. I think he's more of a threat in this way. But right, that's the Western Conference guy who you would think of in the playoffs where you go, man, this might be, even with Rudy back, right? That it could be an issue for them.
Yeah, it's one of those where like, okay, he can get you in a screen and roll and he can do the blow by. But he can also, if you have to play that drop coverage, the deep drop for that reason, he can pull like an ant can and hit that shot. Like De'Aaron Fox, we've seen De'Aaron Fox light up the Wolves in the past. He is just one of those guys where it's just a little bit less consistent. There are more games where it's like, oh, De'Aaron Fox is off tonight. So I think that maybe is one of the bigger things. But if they played the Spurs in a series, like I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's 2 games where De'Aaron Fox scores like 30 points. It is awesome. And you're like, well, they don't have any answers for him. Because I think he can get to his spots with his skill set against this team. Like, they don't really have a way to derail him from getting to the spots where he wants to on the court. It just comes down to execution for him at that point. I can't think of too many others who fit that archetype.
I was caught. I spent a little bit of time thinking about it in the West. Maybe I'm skipping over something, but that's the one I think of because I mean Shea is different. He's kind of his own thing and different.
It's methodical too, but
and awesome. Jamal Murray and awesome, but it's not the same thing. I like Jaden's ability even in a playoff series to guard those type of guys. And if he can do it without fouling him, that's not, I'll say he's going to shut down either of them, but it isn't like it isn't a concern because I don't see the bottom dropping out in those matchups. I don't see it in a Houston matchup. They don't even really have a point guard, Who else are we missing? The Lakers. That's not.
You have to get like a
Reeves and Luka
or something. Like,
hey, that's not a bad one. That's not a bad one. I mean,
it's tough to envision the path
lower
to it.
Tier.
Yeah, it's a lower tier, and it's tough to envision a path right now to a Wolves Suns series when they would cross paths. But
yeah, no, that would probably be another one that I would put up there. I think it does need to. It is like a guard who's really committed to attacking all the way, downhill and almost prioritizing that over, getting to a step back or just even looking to go east-west. And Maxey and Fox, to my watching of them, are more that. And just a bit of a concern, and was a huge reason why they lost the game last night. It's just not having anything for that archetype of player who played really well within that. Like Maxey, as he's been playing all season, most of the whole season, really well. It was very representative last night.
I think a concerning thing in last night was because of personnel, like the Wolves personnel, but just the ability to kind of change coverages and change what you're doing. Like in the Wolves, like when they did go switch heavy, it looked so bad. And I get it that those guys hadn't played together and they haven't done that a lot this year, but the communication and execution was terrible. And it's like the ability to do multiple things defensively against great players over the course of a 7-game series. Like, do the Wolves have that? And in the past they have, and I still think if like their top 7 more comfortable probably can do that. But it just reminded me a little bit last night of like, oh, this reminded me of the 21-22 season when they could do high wall and they couldn't do one other thing well. And that was what last night reminded me of. I don't know if it's indicative of like what this healthy roster can do and the changes they can make, even with like Rudy when he has to play out more or something, if there's somebody who's giving them trouble. But that is one thing that we haven't necessarily seen proven as much this year, largely because you don't pull it out a lot of times throughout the season. But just their ability to toggle things, change up their scheme just a little bit to give different looks to these best players like we talk about all the time. Can they successfully do that? I don't know.
I think Ayo's a big part of that answer, and I don't have him all figured out enough to.
Yeah, same.
I feel like he could answer theoretically some of these issues.
Yeah, there's a theory
not just the guard thing. The theory that's what I'm saying. It's the theory, and the numbers in Chicago don't suggest it is. The eye test kind of does to me that he could be a real answer there, but. I'm not trying to come at him too hard at 5 games. But what I wrote down in my notes is I think there's a big road trip for Dosunmu.
Sure.
To kind of like, have 2 of the 3 games, play really well, and be a part of this team that we understand better, the coaching staff understands better, and becomes a little more, just bankable. Again, I think more of that exists, but we don't know, like Ayo is a bench, he is a bench player. He's not one of the Wolves, 5 best guys. There's a reason it didn't take like a ton to get him in the market. Like he is not a surefire, you're getting X, Y, and Z from him type of player. Now, I think in the right scheme, the right team, all those things. I do have I can picture it. Like I can picture it, but it's not like I'm not pounding the table here of like, yeah, I know that Ayo helps in XYZ sort of ways. And so I'm just saying I want to see it. I would have liked to see in a game with a lot more opportunity last night that he took some more of that and ran with it. But I think part of this is about his teammates empowering him too, and like understanding what his game is and where to get it to him. I said this the other day with Yohan. Like, I feel like the guys, when Yohan played in the Friday game, like they played with Yohan in practice a lot, and they know how to help Yohan or get Yohan the ball in the areas that are helpful, or play defense in the areas that are helpful. I don't feel like that's like fully downloaded yet for the players with Io. And that gives me optimism that there's a lot more in there. It just currently exists with like a ... for me. Purely because it hasn't been like proven out yet.
I think I'd like to see more of like, can he be a defensive game changer? And I don't know if that's true or not right now. And that's partially because it's a small sample size, but also haven't had too many instances of it yet. I like him in that I think when he's playing his best, or when the Wolves are playing their best brand of basketball, he fits really well into that. Solid defense turning into transition basketball, and he is very much somebody who produces transition because of how much he's trying to get into it, and it makes everybody else better. So I think like when they're rolling, can be a big reason why. But I just always wonder, like, who can get the Wolves like out of the mud? Like when they're not playing well, when it's a night like last night or a night against the Clippers where it's like, just don't have it. Who can like change the game, turn the game around? And so often for them, it's like Rudy's effort on the glass largely, or Ant shot making are like their two solutions there. I think even Nas,
maybe Nas and Jaden.
I was just going to say Nas. Yep, his shot making for sure. Jaden a little bit, but it is to me like it almost has to be things that are kind of loud. And
I don't think Io's going to be loud.
I don't think so either. Loud. You know, like, and that's where. So I think that goes into a bucket of like guys who can help you when it's going well, like keep it rolling, type of players. And I think Io is very much in that group. And like I said, if he's just part of a group, part of a bench group or whatever, that, hey, plays well defensively, gets stops, gets the ball rolling, gets out in transition. And, oh, okay, now that it's like the first half of the Mavericks game where like it becomes a freight train. But like, who are the guys when it's not going well who can help turn it? I don't think Io belongs in that group. And there are just times where it's like you need more guys, I think, who can find a way to do that for you. Flip the game back in your direction, because they're going to go bad at times in the playoffs. This kind of went away from the Io thing, but that's just kind of the thing where it's like you trade for somebody and you're like, oh, there you go. And I think it mattered a lot to build out the rotation and get a seventh guy that you trust. But it was like, okay, but this isn't going to like move heaven and earth. Like the things that they struggle with, they're still going to have to find solutions for, or more consistent efforts from like their game changing guys. Yeah, that's something I think that they still have to find solutions for, that Io isn't necessarily a solution for. But I'm with you that they just also, we don't know if they don't know how to maximize them yet, or if it's just like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a consistent up and down ride.
Well, I mean, I think it's the former for sure. Like it's very clear to me that they don't know how to maximize him yet. You know, just from having ripped, some clips for a while on Io in Chicago. The thing that is abundantly present in watching his offensive play in Chicago that is not abundantly present in Minnesota thus far is these straight line missile drives, like that,
which come off the catch.
They come off the catch, and they come in pace, not just transition pace, like a fast break. They come within half court pace. He's very good at recognizing a tilted defense, catching and going to the weak parts of the defense, and is strong and is very direct to the rim. I think has good finishing ability when he's doing that. It's like those drives where it is full sprint dribble all the way to the basket, and you got a guy on your hip and you're able to finish. Like, that's a tougher thing to do, to go 100 miles an hour at the basket and score past a guy. Io has that in his bag, like, for sure. Like, and that has not been leaned into in Minnesota.
We don't do the whole tilt the defense thing here. Okay. So you face the sack defense, you go 1-on-4, and you see if you can score. Okay. Like
that's the starters. He comes off the bench.
Yeah, I get it. No, and you're right. And that is when you get Io and Nas and even Bones, like that's a good start of like
Friday.
All right. Exactly. That was just it. And then the rest of the game, it stagnated. And Ant had a lot of shot making, but also like a lot of ball holding and being super looking for his own shot. Like that's where it goes in and out. And so when you say, okay, when you get to the playoffs, it's like, well, now the ball holders are playing 38 to 42 minutes a game, probably a little bit even harder to get to like that ball movement. So it is like, okay, do they have to play what is the head coach's preferred brand of basketball that would kind of unlock more IO and create more opportunities for him? Or does everybody else have to fit into what they actually do? Does IO have to be like, all right, how do I find my offense within this? Like, I think we've seen Dante struggle with that. We've seen a lot of guys struggle with that because the answer isn't like which way they're going to go. They don't consistently find that answer.
No, you're right. I mean, and that the Friday game was that it like there wasn't a lot of ball and body movement at the start of the game. There was when the bench guys came in, and then it extremely stagnated again when the starting group came back out there. Obviously, they still won that game, but yeah, ultimately, again, when we're talking about ceiling and getting there, what it's going to take, like those things just need to be stitched together. This is one way and the other way, like. That is not going to work unless they merge to some extent. Again, in terms of reaching your ceiling and being a team, like the cool thing is in the glass very half full is like if they are running that the whole time and there is that pace to their offense and the flow, and then you come in with like situational Ant and Julius like haymakers, like I don't want to play that team.
Yeah,
like
I mean, they talked about that. Like that was that OKC win.
Sure.
When OKC had most of their guys, I think, earlier in the year. And I think even Dante said it, like the last 5 minutes, like when we need that, like that's when it's great. Everybody else has touched it. Everybody else has felt involved in the game. So they're activated defensively and they're more ready probably to hit catch and shoot if you do get like two guys on you, heavy gaps, all that stuff, It can't be in the second quarter. Yeah, exactly. Like that's too often what it devolves into because it's just, you can say coaching it, sure. Like, the coach has in theory, like some control of everything that's happening on the court. So sure. But it also is just, it's constantly working against what our guys like tendencies and their habits of who they've always been as players. And you're constantly trying to peel back on that a little bit. And that is a battle across all of basketball.
Absolutely.
Like not specific to this team, but it's one that we see them fight all the time because it's not the best version of themselves. And they know what the best version of themselves is. They all say it. They talk about it after they do it. It's just consistently doing it is tough. And I think like Io's great. And that, like I said, when they are playing well, he can be a huge driver of that because he benefits from the best brand of basketball and he can like accentuate it. It's just,
but maybe not
help
inspire
get them into it. Yeah, exactly. Right. I think he can inspire sometimes in the transition, but again, like that requires getting stops, which the bench unit, sometimes that's going to be tougher for them to do, especially if Rudy's not out there. Though sometimes
that's the distinction I would make between him and Nas is Nas can inspire it. Yeah. And maybe that's just a product of, Nas being very familiar with the system or maybe
Nas is
just skill set and how it hits it. But yeah.
He's in the actions too, right? Like it's like top of the court. It's like, all right, Nas, get out there for, pick and pop or whatever. And now he's inspiring. I'm either pulling it or I'm making the next pass and cutting. And like he is activating the offense, where if Iowa is playing more off ball stuff and just kind of waiting for like, are we going to move it? Are we going to move it? When you're at the one with the ball, like there's only so much you can do.
I didn't talk about this enough on Friday. I really liked how Nas played in that game of like, doing both that, but also self-creating. Like I always am like, is there another 10% of Nas? Is there another 10% of Nas? Does this ceiling go higher for him individually? And I do think like that's the next step. And it's a delicate one for him to balance of like being the cog in the offense while also situationally being like, well, my opportunity here to just attack might be better than continuing the flow in that spot or getting us stuck or passing it to a position where it's going to be sticky. I think he has I would imagine that's hard because those are kind of like, are you you're both the quickest ball mover and somebody we're saying to self-create some offense. I think Nas is getting better at that. And I think we'll see more of that over the course of the season. And it's why I have more belief in him being able to 6-man style inspire a style of play that I think Io can right now. And then the dream, of course, is that they both can do that in their own ways. And now you've got a 6th and 7th starter like you had a season ago or 8 with Nas, Dante, and Nikhil. They do need a little bit. They need a little bit more from that there. And I just don't know about Io yet, which is why I say, like, I think it'd be great news if Io has a great road trip here coming up.
Yeah, I think with Nas, what you talk about with that, it's like fighting how you view the game, because like talk to Nas publicly and privately, like he just wants to play like quick decision basketball. I think thinks that's the right way to play the game. And you're right though. Like sometimes it's like, well, you made a quick decision and then it went somewhere where that won't be a quick decision. So maybe you should have just gone. And it's right. Like, and I get that. I get being like, well, I guess I should go against what I think here because this is what I think is best for the team if I go, versus being like, I'm trying to get us all to play the right way. The way the coach wants us all to play, the way I want us to play. So, and I know like the better versions of Mike Conley had that trouble in past years too, of like, maybe I should shoot that, but I'm trying. We haven't passed the ball in 3 possessions and now I get the ball and I'm going to shoot it. We need to pass it again. So it is like, it's almost like compensating for those around you, you know, which is a tough thing to get out of because, you know, maybe if it's in the 4th quarter and you're like, well, we need a bucket. It's early 4th. We need to get something going. But I think in the 2nd quarter, it is like, no, I want to try to get us actually playing the right way because I think that's a more sustainable. Am I going to catch a fish and give it to us, or am I going to teach us how to fish for the rest of the game here? And I get it. I get where you're at, and I think it's situational, just depending on where you're at in the game and how it's going.
No, you're right that it shouldn't start that way. It should start with empowering the offense as a whole, and then be the snowball rolling down the hill in the second half or your second shift. And that's what Nas did on Friday against Dallas. And it opens up another level, I think, to the group, but to him individually too, which is, again, always been a curiosity of mine.
My favorite Nas shot, is like when he runs to the corner in transition and then they kick out to him and he is literally like almost fading backwards as he shoots it. And it looks like it's going every time. Yeah, it is. It's like, I look at it and I'm like, that's probably not going. And he drills it. Like it's like a step back as he's catching the ball, like all momentum going away from the rim, and knocks it down consistently. It's my favorite one to watch. We have a great view of it from our seats. And it's like, Jesus, how did that go?
He used to be such a stationary shooter.
Right.
Like he was just a top of the key, bomb threes, 5, you know? The footwork development there. And even taking shots where you go, ooh, you know, but like he's earned some of that. And he is one of those guys who it's almost like, if he gets a little twinkle toes going on, like prior to the shot, rather than just the set catch and shoot, like, I don't know. I would like some numbers on that. Cause it feels to me like those go in.
Doesn't even mean a dribble. Doesn't even mean a dribble, you know, like, so that's why the data is tougher to,
Yeah. Portland, LA, Denver, 3-game road trip coming up here. I think it's I mentioned it through the IO lens, but this is a big one. This is a big one against 3 competent teams. Nobody tanking. I know Portland looks like they're going to be missing Denny. I don't know what the Clippers injury status is, and Denver's obviously banged up too. But feels like an important 3-game stretch here, Jace, and we'll be back next week to talk about what that is. I'm going on the road for this road trip, so we'll have some pods mixed in over the course of the week from those games. But I feel like it's a big one. Appreciate you coming on and doing this, and as always, we will see. Thanks, man.
All right, fun as always, man. Thanks.
You guys can follow Jace at Jace Frederick. Read him over at the Pioneer Press. And listen to him on this show every Monday. Doing something in Portland. Trying to figure out if Kyle's going to be doing that episode with me, but I'll have the next episode will be after the Portland game on Tuesday. But until then, he's Jace. I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah.